Hey friends, welcome back. Thanks so much for joining us, and a happy 4th of July, happy Independence Day to all of you listening. I'm not sure if I'll get this posted here on the 4th or the 5th, but regardless, happy Independence Day from those British royals. I hope we're free of them. We're going to talk about that with Jay Myers from Jay Myers Documentaries, who has an excellent brand new documentary out. He just released it on the 3rd. It's titled How to Murder a Princess, The Death of Princess Diana. Jay Myers returns to SGT Report here and now. Jay, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing very well, and you do such remarkable work as we discussed the last time I had you on. Let's just play the first 30 seconds of your doc for folks. We got to tease this thing out. You do such a great job. How to Murder a Princess.
We interrupt this film to tell you we are getting reports that Diana, Princess of Wales, has been badly injured in a car crash in France.
That Diana, Princess of Wales, has died in this accident.
She is now officially reported as dead.
She was a woman who knew too much, and the circumstances surrounding her death couldn't be more suspect.
How is it that every single traffic camera was switched off or not working?
20 years later, and the smoke surrounding the crash that claimed the life of the Princess of Wales and 2 others has only grown thicker.
I'll pause it there. My goodness, if that doesn't make you want to watch the entire 36-minute documentary. I tell you what a teaser, Jay. Good job.
Thanks.
How did you begin your digging into this? Because, you know, many of us remember August 31st, 1997. Of course, that's when the news broke that Diana had been in an accident. And really, I think the news broke here in the United States because I remember it specifically. It didn't actually break with the accident. It broke with her death. I remember them saying Princess Diana has been killed in a car accident. What motivated you to start doing this documentary? Because it's such a huge topic. I mean, the research alone must have taken you months.
Yeah. Well, when I did my very first documentary about the royal family, part of what I talk about is Diana, and part of what I uncovered was that all evidence points to murder, that she was murdered, that she had become too much of a thorn in the royal family's side. And so I talked a little bit about that in the first documentary, but it was always something that I wanted to come back and do an entire documentary about, because there's just so much to talk about with that, and to talk about with her death and the connections that it has to the British aristocracy, the Illuminati, all of the things that are so relevant today. And the anniversary of her death is coming up. It's going to be 20 years, so couldn't be a better time to revisit that topic.
All right, and I want to read this to you. This comes to us from WCVB, Channel 5. This is out of London. So this is, for folks who don't remember, Dodi Fayed was reportedly, I think the reports were that they were about to be engaged, or were they already engaged, Jay? I don't recall.
Well, there's much speculation about that. All of at the time she died, there was a huge tabloid frenzy going on because of this relationship with Dodi Al-Fayed. And he had just bought a ring from the Say Yes collection from the famous Raposi jewelers. And he had that ring brought to Paris. And it is believed by most that he planned to pop the question to Diana that night. He had champagne brought to his apartment, and he made sure that the ring that he bought from Raposi was at the apartment. That could be why they were so adamant about getting to the apartment that night, was because that could have been his plans to propose. There's also much speculation that she may have been pregnant. Some of the pictures kind of looked like maybe she kind of had a baby bump, but then it would have been too early for that really to show very much. So we don't know about that for certain, but it did look like their relationship was getting very serious, and that was troubling to the royal family.
Yeah, for a number of reasons, not the least of which they didn't want an extension of the royal family to marry into a different religion, right? They didn't want her marrying into the Fayed Empire. And Dodi's father has long maintained, Mohammed Al-Fayed has long maintained, that his son and Diana were murdered. And he spent a ton of money to try to prove that, and he says he'll never let it go. This article reads, on the eve of the royal wedding, the father of the man killed in the car crash with the late Princess Diana is making new charges about a palace conspiracy he claims led to the death of his son Dodi. Mohammed al-Fayed, who long claimed that a conspiracy within the royal family plotted the deaths of Princess Diana and his son, charged Thursday that Diana's son William suspects a palace plot as well. And the quote is this: "I think William also believes in the conspiracy. I have letters from William talking about his struggle with this," end quote. You know, al-Fayed rarely grants interviews, but for him to say that, it's a big deal, because I've always wondered that. What do these two boys, what do the sons of Diana think about the death of their mother? Because if they suspect any of this, that's a bitter pill, thinking that their own father was involved in the murder of their mom.
Yeah, I too have thought about that, and then, you know, them growing up, yeah, hearing the stories and hearing the, you know, on the periphery, but as they become adults, actually looking into it themselves and looking into what might have happened. And it's interesting that you were talking about how Dodi al-Fayed had spent all this money to try and get to the bottom of his son and Diana's death. Because one of the things that MI6 did to him, and this is basically proves that they had something to do with it. One of the things that MI6 did to him was they had one of their operatives contact him and say that he had the documents from MI6 showing basically the hit on Princess Diana and Dodi, and showing how it was to be done and everything. He wanted to sell these for $13 million. Dodi's lawyers gave him enough money as a retention to keep him on hold while they investigated it. His private investigators found out that he was working for MI6, that the papers were fraudulent, and the whole purpose of this operation was that Mohammed al-Fayed would buy the documents from this guy, come out waving the papers saying, "I've got the proof," and then they would be immediately discredited, shredded apart, and just shown to be complete fabrications, and that would discredit the entire conspiracy against Diana. Fortunately, he found out about this ahead of time, and he didn't have anything else to do with the scam artist. But this guy was linked to MI6. So why are they trying to do operations like this to get the media to completely discredit the conspiracy if they had nothing to do with it?
Yeah, well, you and I, everybody knows that they had everything to do with it. And let's just revisit what I can recall just from, you know, recollection of 1997, August 31st. My understanding in the weeks later is that they just let her die in that car. So you tell me, what are some of the biggest smoking guns of that crash? Because my understanding is that car, that Mercedes-Benz, sat in that tunnel with emergency response vehicles and personnel showing up. And they did not remove her. They did not try to rush her to a hospital. She sat there for hours, didn't she?
Not hours. After the crash, it was an hour. It took an hour and 43 minutes to get her to the hospital, of which time I think she spent over an hour down in that tunnel. And there's no reason why, because we can see from the crash photos that her seat was not badly damaged. So they didn't have to get the jaws of life out and pry her out. She was basically half out of the car already from reports. So we really don't know what all happened down in that tunnel, what all they were doing, what took them so long. But also, why did it take so long? Why did the ambulance drive so long? You know, it drove at a pedestrian pace, passing 4 capable hospitals along the way, stopping along the way for delicate operations, one of which was within sight of the hospital that they were going to. And it has long been speculated that that ambulance crew was sort of like an MI6 backup. And we talk about this in the documentary. It was sort of like an MI6 backup team that showed up to make sure she did not survive.
Because she wasn't supposed to have survived the crash, but she did. And now backup had arrived to finish the job. Although the princess had not died, there was now a credible reason for her to die. All the alleged medical team had to do now was ensure their target did not survive by any means necessary.
Other smoking guns, the CCTV, all CCTV cameras surrounding we have the CCTV camera footage from the Ritz-Carlton hotel where she was staying. Then from that point out, we have no CCTV camera footage. So in the documentary, it lists all the ridiculous amount of places that all the cameras just happen to be broken all along their way. But once they got to the Point Dalman Tunnel, there was cameras around that too that should have caught any white Fiat Uno that was there. Those were all supposedly malfunctioning at the time of the crash.
Yeah, convenient. Just like the Pentagon cameras on 9/11. How come these video cameras work just fine when they want to track and trace our movements,
Exactly.
the citizenry, but it never ever, these cameras always fail when there's one of these acts of violence or an assassination or an act of terror. Let me read you this. Of course, Diana predicted her own death. This comes from The Telegraph in 2007. The note was sent to Paul Burrell, the princess's then butler, in October 1993, 10 months after her separation from Prince Charles was announced. And the letter reads, quote, "I am sitting here at my desk in October longing for someone to hug me and encourage me to keep strong and hold my head high. This particular phase in my life is the most dangerous. My husband is planning an accident in my car, brake failure, and serious head injury in order to make the path clear for him to marry Tiggy. Camilla is nothing but a decoy, so we are all being used by the man in every sense of the word," end quote. She got that wrong. He actually did go on to marry Camilla, but the part she got right is that I think he did have her killed in that car accident, and she predicted it.
And that wasn't the first mysterious car accident that she was in. The brakes in her Audi failed, I think a couple years before the Point Dalman Tunnel accident. She had mysterious brake failure in her Audi. But she divorced. It was very short time after she divorced him, she was dead. And it's my belief that she was just a problem completely for them. She had the entire public on her side, that she was adored. She showed them up in every way. She went to hospitals. She shook hands with AIDS patients. She did everything that a princess, what people see as a modern day princess, she was it. And they knew it. And they knew they just couldn't compete with that. Add on the fact that now she's in a relationship with somebody that they hate. Prince Philip called Dodi Al-Fayed an oily bedhopper. They're notoriously racist. And they felt this was an embarrassment to Prince Charles. Not only that, they didn't really want the princes to be raised with Diana's influence. They raised children without empathy. So they wanted to have complete control over how those children were raised. Yeah.
That makes sense. And that actually bridges us nicely into the whole topic of the royals and pedophilia, which we talked about last time you were on, Satanism. I actually have a clip that I could play for you here in a second. If you want to bridge into that now, let me know, because these people are heartless. So for them to take out a hit on the boy's mom, on Princess Diana, I think it's just common knowledge at this point. I don't think there's anybody on the planet who believes that was truly an accident, Jay.
Yeah, well, this isn't the first hit that they had taken out. She was dating her bodyguard, Barry Manicky, and he was decapitated in a motorcycle accident. And she was later told by Prince Charles, right before she went out to, she had to go before the cameras, about his death. And he just kind of says, shame what happened to so-and-so, isn't it? Because he knew that she was having an affair with him. Of course, he cheated on her basically from their honeymoon. So she found out that they had killed him. Then they threatened another person that she was in a relationship with by saying, you don't want to end up like Barry Manicky.
Yeah, that's 100% right. I actually have a soundbite queued up to play for you here from David Icke talking about exactly that. So you triggered my memory. Let's listen to this.
Christine told me this. Diana came in a terrible state. And I'm going to quote Christine word for word from the tape recording. Diana, was crying hysterically. And I said, what's the matter? You know, it was dog-died stuff, bottom lip out, full sob. She came galloping through the door. I gave her rescue remedy, clutched her, hugged her, calmed her down, and said, now tell me what's going on. I can't believe it. They killed him, she sobbed. I said, who did they kill? She told me about her affair with the detective, Barry Manicky, and how he was decapitated on a motorbike and how she thought it was a terrible accident. But now she knows the royal family killed him because Prince Charles's senior detective has just told her that if she didn't call it with Hewitt, the same would happen to him.
Yeah, I'll pause it there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all on the record, but what you and I now know about the royals is they're literally above the law. There is no court, there is no jurisdiction, there is no law to which they must obey. There's no law they must obey in the UK. They're literally above the law. They are royals.
Right. They all judges, police officers, investigators, all swear an oath to the Queen, not to the people, to the Queen.
I, Justin P.J. Trudeau, do solemnly and sincerely swear that I shall be a true and faithful servant to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II as a member of Her Majesty's Privy Council for Canada. I shall keep secret all matters committed and revealed to me in this capacity, or that shall be secretly treated of in council. Generally, in all things, I shall do as a faithful and true servant ought to do for Her Majesty, so help me God.
And if you just think about the very fact that James Bond has a license to kill, no one can have a license to kill a free man. And the very fact that he has that shows that, there's this myth, of the license to kill. I don't know if that's 100% accurate or not, but I wouldn't doubt that MI6 agents are given something like that. That shows that you're subjects. You're not free men. You're subjects. You belong to the Queen.
Yeah, that's a really good point. They've been brainwashing us with that James Bond license to kill garbage
James Bond stuff.
since I was a little boy. They've been doing it now for 40, 50 years with the James Bond license to kill stuff. You're absolutely right. MI6, MI5, license to kill. Who grants the license? The Queen.
Right.
Yeah, they're literally above the law, guys. They're not beholden to any of the courts. They're above the courts. And the royals, they don't pay any taxes. It's a model that needs to be wiped off the history books, but I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. The Brits love their royal family.
Yeah, there's no excuse for a hereditary monarchy in the 21st century. I don't even know if there ever was an excuse for one, but this is something that should have been done away with a long time ago. And you see how James Bond is used, like you said, to brainwash the public. And a very good example of that is when they did the London Olympic Games. Do you remember how they had James Bond incorporated, and he actually filmed a scene, Daniel Craig filmed a scene
with the Queen, yep,
as James Bond?
Yep, I remember that very, very well. And it's a bit surprising, too, because it surprised me to see it, because Daniel Craig is actually a fairly private actor, and he actually didn't want to be part of the James Bond franchise anymore. They offered him the sun, moon, and stars and a ton of money to stay on for another movie or two, and he just didn't want anything to do with it anymore. So I was actually surprised to see him take part in that.
Yeah, he said he never wants to play James Bond again.
All right, well, let's bridge over to the bigger picture here. The royals, it's certainly not above the royal family to assassinate anybody. No one's out of their reach, including Princess Diana. And part of the problem with the royal family is they have been, I believe, a satanic family. It's a satanic bloodline, and they have been involved in child trafficking and pedophilia for probably centuries, probably from the very beginning, Jay. And I want to play this clip for you from Sun, Sea, and Satan. It's a documentary that was sent to me by a listener, and I posted it at the Phaser. This is Bill Maloney from Pie and Mash Films, who was trying to get to the bottom of some very dark activities on an island owned by the royals. Listen to this.
So, the opulence of the place, why put working class children here? We know what the rich are like. We know what they're like. They don't want working class children around them. They just don't. And I'll tell you what, I'm really fucked up with people saying, yeah, but that all happened in 1986. 86, 96, 2006. It's fuck all, is it? It was going on in the time of Thatcher. And it's been going on in the reign of this Queen. For the last 50 years, there has been abuse on this fucking island and throughout Europe. And I believe that it is down to the children are the sacrificial lambs. Now, I also found out this morning that in 2004, a guy was told that he could practice Satanism in the Navy. Now, at that time, he was a petty officer. Since then, 2004, he has been promoted to the MOD in Whitehall. Now, is on a blog on the internet. What they're saying is that I got this morning from London from our producer is the excuse is Satanism is for those people who don't believe in God. Now, if you don't believe in God, it means that you can use Satanism just to earn a lot of money or to get a nice house and get on personally in life. Now, you know, I don't think practicing Satanism would be too good for those people who have got children that are proper people. So therefore, Satanism obviously involves the offering up of children to Satan. So this guy has been fucking promoted to Whitehall, and they changed the law so that Satanism can be now practiced in the Navy. Prince Philip was in the Navy. Prince Charles was in the Navy. Andrew was in the Navy.
You know, I'll pause it there. I played that. It's a lot longer than I intended to play it, but I watched that whole documentary yesterday, and it's very, very good. And what Bill Maloney was trying to do was expose the deaths, the mysterious deaths in bone fragments and skulls found at this home for children on this island. And these children were being taken from lower class families and put on this island controlled by the royals. And then when dead children show up, it's all covered up. This goes on, I tell you, man, if we could just expose the satanic ritual abuse of children by these powerful, powerful people on planet Earth, we could bring this whole crummy system down.
Absolutely. And it almost happened in the late 80s. And they were successful in covering it up and making it look like a bunch of outlandish movie claims by claiming it was satanic panic. It wasn't. This is something that has been bubbling under the surface in the United States and in England for a very long time. And it is going to come to the surface. They can't keep it down forever.
In 2014, news broke of an entire pedophile ring operating within Buckingham Palace, involving quote-unquote VIPs.
A teenage boy working at Buckingham Palace revealed he was groomed and sexually abused by a VIP paedophile ring there. The lad was also assaulted at the royal family's Scottish retreat Balmoral. In a heartbreaking note, the boy, then just 16, told how he was the victim of exploitation of the highest order. Peter Mckelvey, the former child protection officer who first raised the alarm about high-profile individuals engaged in child sex abuse, said that their campaign of abuse may have been going on for as long as 65 years, but there has always been the block and the cover-up and the collusion to prevent an investigation.
And it should be mentioned that the Queen is the head of the Church of England. And I guess what does that say about the state of the church? I mean, there's already a lot of evidence to suggest the Vatican has been taken over by a demonic force. And maybe you should do a documentary for us about that. But your thoughts on the role that Satanism...
I plan on it, actually.
Pardon?
I plan on doing one on the Vatican, actually.
Oh, great. Yeah. Great. Well, that will be...
And the Queen has had the Pope over to Buckingham Palace. Not this, I don't know if it's this current one, but the former one, the one who had to resign the first time that's happened in hundreds of years, I think, because he was the one that was helping to cover up the pedophilia that's going on over at the Vatican. And now recently, the Pope's right-hand man, I believe, was arrested or investigated for some kind of pedophilia charges. So you can't tell me that she's the head or one of the best intelligence operations in the world. MI6 answers to her, and she doesn't know what him and his buddies are getting up to over at the Vatican. Come on.
Yeah, they know. We all know what's going on now, though. I mean, thanks to Pedogate, Pizzagate, which the mainstream media continues to malign and tries to get the sheeple people to believe, you know, there's nothing there. It was just the wide-eye conspiracy theories of a bunch of nuts.
An internet conspiracy theory. Now they're adding the word internet to even further discredit.
Okay.
You know, because if it comes from the internet, it must be, you know.
Right. Well, as you know and I know, the only truth that's conveyed anywhere is on CNN.
That's right. That's right.
Everything else is fake news.
Right. It's going to be like North Korea eventually, where we just have I mean, I don't even know why we have different media outlets now. It should just be CNN, and then they should just get their talking points directly from the Illuminati, and we can just tune in.
I think that, I always say that CNN is State Department talking points. I mean, it really is. It's like
right.
Pravda used to be in Russia, I think.
Yeah. And who's their golden boy? Anderson Cooper, who is known to have an internship with the CIA. So it's got Project Mockingbird written all over it.
Yep, that's right. Project Mockingbird. Well, Jay, I think that for you and for me, given our independent research, I think we both come to similar conclusions that Satanists, and I know this is a bitter pill for a lot of people, but Satanists run this world.
Yes. And also, as we look at pedophilia, Satanism in the upper crust of establishment in England and in the United States, we see that not only is it so prolific, but why is child abuse so prolific within the so-called elite?
There was also the case of the Queen's personal butler, Paul Kidd, who ran a high-level child trafficking ring inside Buckingham Palace and even brought children to meet the Queen Mother.
It was first in 2008 that news about deep roots of paedophilia inside Buckingham Palace emerged. Former Buckingham Palace butler was unmasked as a sexual predator who ran a paedophile ring while serving the royal family.
Well, this reminds me of something that David Berkowitz, satanic serial killer, said. He said, Satanists, the genuine ones, are peculiar people. They aren't ignorant peasants or semi-literate natives. Rather, their ranks are filled with doctors, lawyers, businessmen, and basically highly responsible citizens. They are secretive and bonded together by a common need and desire to met out havoc on society. And his murders were done as part of a satanic group. We have to shatter this notion that Satanists are a bunch of teenagers out in the woods.
Yeah, that's very well said. Where did that come from, that quote?
That's from The Biggest Secret.
David Icke?
Yes, David Icke's The Biggest Secret.
All right, very good. Well, Jay, I sure do appreciate your voice and your work. Guys, you're going to want to check out Jay Myers' documentaries on YouTube. If you haven't subscribed already, absolutely do. And watch his brand new documentary, How to Murder a Princess, The Death of Princess Di. Boy, what a great piece of work. Jay, final word from you.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And I just wanted to say to all of your watchers, if you go to my Patreon page, I've got more videos on there, not the same documentary style, but just me setting up the camera or setting up the microphone and just laying out just digging into some of the research that I've done, topics from Prince's death, subconscious marketing. I got one about the Pedogate situation and Kathy O'Brien. So definitely check out my Patreon. Only $5 a month. You can become an insider and get access to all kinds of extra content. Plus, you'll be helping me put out great documentaries.
Excellent. Yes, guys, do check out Patreon. And my thanks to my patrons over at Patreon/SGT Report. But check out Jay Myers on Patreon as well. He'd very much appreciate your support. Our guest has been Jay Myers. He's a heck of an independent documentary filmmaker. As I've said in the past, his stuff could be on cable TV, Discovery Channel, History Channel tomorrow if those were honest networks that wanted truth dispersed, but they don't. All right, Jay, thanks so much for your time, buddy.
Thank you.
All right, guys, and thank you so much for tuning in. And happy 4th of July. Happy Independence Day from the Satanic Royals. It's an independence that we all should cherish. I hope we can keep it. Thanks for tuning in. God bless.
It's complex. There's a lot of different ways that people are trafficking and harming children that the American public need to know about so that we can stand up and combat it politically, legally, and every other way.